So with the popularity of Christmas movies, a lot of writers try to tie in holidays just to try to see if they can get the same success.
It's July 4th, Ray. Okay, this is his day. Whatever he has planned is gonna happen today unless we stop him.
This one's called I Know What You Did Last Summer.
I know what you did last summer? Ooh.
So we meet four friends on the beach, trying to tell a scary story about a guy with a hook for a hand, but all of them have different versions, and keep rudely interrupting the one actually telling the story.
You! Shut up!
The two couples then separate to talk about how their stupid high school relationships are going to last long distance when they go to different cities.
Did you know the success rate of high school sweetheart relationships is higher than any other type of relationship?
Of course I lied to her!
They then do a big horror story no-no.
Are you sure?
Big no-no! You can never have sex.
And after, it's getting late, so it's time to go home. But Barry's even drunker than he was before he drove them there.
You can never drink or do drugs.
So Ray takes the keys and drives him back towards town. But Barry stupidly turns down Helen's offer.
Come on, come ride in the back with me. I'll let you do things to me.
And instead, wants to stand up in the sunroof. When he drops his bottle, Ray takes his eyes off the curving road that's on a cliff to see where it went. And that's when they hit something. So they stop and all check the damage on the car, but then Julie points out that whatever they hit might be hurt, since Barry has blood on his face and it's not his. So a little ways down the road, they find a body and Ray doesn't feel a pulse.
I think he's dead.
They then decide that the cops would never believe that one of the sober kids was driving the car and accidentally hit a man who was in the middle of nowhere at night.
I think it's crap.
Of course, Barry's argument is that he doesn't let anyone else drive his car, and I'm pretty sure the police are very well aware of this fact. But I'm also pretty sure that they could prove that he wasn't driving from the bruises he's gonna get from taking a 180-pound man to the face at 55 miles an hour.
His face is all messed up.
But apparently, the manslaughter charges in North Carolina come with the death penalty,
It's manslaughter. We're gonna fry no matter who takes the fall.
and they think they're all gonna die unless they dump the body in the ocean and pretend that it never happened. But their plans are interrupted by this guy Max, who has a crush on Julie. They manage to brush him off, but it's only because he doesn't like her friends, especially Ray.
Because he's your boyfriend.
No, it's because he's a poor kid, but he was accepted by the rich kids because he's dating Julie.
He hates him just because he's poor?
No, he's also a poor kid, but he's not accepted by the rich kids. But he's trying to date Julie, so they'll accept him. Like I've said before, teenagers are stupid, and it doesn't take them thinking that they can get away with hiding a body to prove it.
Young, dumb, and full of cum.
So when they get to the dump site, Julie wants to check his wallet to see who he is, but Barry and Helen just want to toss him in. And when they start to, the man wakes up, and instead of being happy he's alive and they're off the hook for manslaughter, Julie starts to hit him with a flashlight and then pushes him off the pier. So I'm guessing that he didn't think he was going to make it and wanted some evidence that led back to his killers. Because on his way down, he grabs Helen's tiara. See, earlier that night, she was crowned the Croaker Queen for the 4th of July festival, and if this guy's body's found with it, they can track it back to her. So Barry jumps in to get it, and when he gets out, instead of waiting on the end of the dock to see if the guy resurfaces, since he saw him open his eyes under the water, they walk back to shore and agree to never mention what happened again.
You speak nothing of this day.
We then fast forward a year later when Julie comes back to town. Apparently the guild has gotten her so bad that she's resorted to wearing stupid hats and can't even recognize her own mother.
Are you on drugs?
But she gets a letter that says, I know what you did last summer, and she stays up all night reading it over and over.
You know how terrified I am of your IQ.
The next morning, she goes to visit Helen's sister Elsa to get Helen's phone number in New York, but it turns out she's a shitty actress and moved back after like 3 months. So she looks at the note and she's like, how could anybody know? We need to show Barry. Because he will obviously be the voice of reason and help solve this in the most discreet manner possible. And so it turns out that Julie never saw Barry when they went to the same college, and he broke up with Helen, which is probably a good thing for her, since he's an angry drunk rocking a wife beater. He thinks that it's just some stupid prank and has nothing to do with the murder they committed. But in her guilt, Julie looked up who they killed, and it turns out the body of this guy David got caught in a net a few weeks after the accident. So she's pretty sure it was him that they killed, but it was ruled an accidental drowning.
You can call it an accident all you want, but he died because of us, that's certain.
I'm pretty sure a coroner would have noticed if the dude got hit by a car. But then they remembered that that guy Max saw him that night, so they go talk to him. And by that I mean, Barry pushes him into some ice and then threatens him with a meat hook.
Tasteful discretion is the name of the game.
And when Barry leaves, Max threatens back. And as they're leaving, they bump into Ray, and Barry and Helen take off so him and Julie can talk. Ray agrees that Max was probably playing a prank, which sets her at ease, but then he apologizes for not agreeing with her plan to call the cops, and she says, "I don't blame you, but I also never want to see you again," and runs away crying.
But Max liked Julie. Why would he send her the letter instead of Ray?
I mean, if you're gonna send it to any of them, send it to Barry. He's the only one who shows no guilt, and he's the only one whose life hasn't gone to crap after this. And speaking of Barry, he's at the gym working out. He hears somebody in the gym when he's in the locker room and calls out to him while he's in the shower.
Max, you're fucking dead.
But no one comes in to pick up the soap for him,
I'll pound his ass.
so he finishes up, but finds a picture of his car sticking out of his locker. And when he goes to see who else is there, someone steals his Letterman jacket that he sadly still wears after he graduated,
Just so pathetic.
and also his car. He chases it down, but then it stops and starts chasing him. But Barry stupidly won't turn or go on a porch or something. No, he waits until there's a parking lot, to which he gets hit by a car and driven through a building.
You can't drive for shit, you know that?
The driver then gets out and is wearing a rain slicker so you can't see who it is, and he pulls out a meat hook while Barry screams for his life.
Well, that's a crappy way to die.
Oh no, he lives. So since this guy didn't kill Barry, they think that if they can find him, they can talk to him and see what he wants.
You're giving us way too much credit.
Well, Julie should talk to him since he had a crush on her.
Oh no, Max is dead. Right after Barry threatened him, the fisherman killed him with a meat hook. And even though none of these guys know he's dead, they rule him out, because I guess the writer forgot that he was supposed to be a red herring.
Dude, you're telling it wrong.
They think it's possible that it's a friend or family member of that guy David, so they go talk to his sister. They lie to her about their car stalling and go inside to make a phone call. And while they're pretending to wait for AAA, they try to get some information out of her about a friend David might have had. But they're a bit too obvious about it.
Did he have a last name?
She would be honored to know your family name too.
And this is also right after she said life hasn't been the same without him, and she also has a slicker hanging up in her living room. So when they get back to town, Helen wonders if David wanted to die because his fiance died on that road a year earlier. But Julie says that's bullshit.
Yeah, say your source.
And also, that she doesn't care that they're not friends anymore. So Helen goes home, and the fisherman follows her in. While she does some product placement, he sneaks into her bedroom and hides in the closet. Her sister comes in and insults her,
Hey, is the washed up, dried out husband having a moment?
and then asks her to come in to work early in the morning. And when she says no, she tells her she's pathetic because she takes care of her hair.
So very pathetic.
Helen then goes to sleep and wakes up with her tiara on her head and her hair chopped off. She calls Julie after she smashes her mirror, either because of the hair or because the fisherman wrote on it. But Julie's on her way, driving with perfect posture.
All right, hold on. Why are you calling him a fisherman instead of a hooker? He's literally hooking people. What's a hooker?
A fisherman, or I guess fisherwoman in this case.
What's wrong with the fisherwoman?
Oh, they can get a whole bunch of diseases from all of the semen. Fine. If it'll make you feel better, I'll call him a hooker. Okay, where were we? Alright, Helen wakes up with her haircut, calls Julie after she beats up her mirror. So Julie's on her way when she hears some noises coming from her trunk. She pulls over on some random side road to take a look inside. You know, like you would if you thought someone was in your trunk, and two of your friends have just recently been attacked. But she opens it to find it full of crabs and Max's dead body. So she does the logical thing, which isn't getting the car that drives past to pull over, or driving it to the police station. No, she shuts the trunk and runs to Helen's house.
Use your brain, Julie.
She bursts in to see her and Barry sitting on the bed, and she's like, "Guys, I've got crabs." But when they get back to the car, the trunk is empty. So Julie starts yelling up into some trees, thinking that he might be up there watching or something.
It's not like she can fight a ghost.
What ghost? It's just some dude.
So this guy had to wait a long time at Helen's house for everyone to be asleep. Then he had to go get Max's body and a crap ton of crabs, go to Julie's, get access to her trunk, then follows her until she finds it, then goes into a neighborhood street and removes not only the body but all the crabs without anybody noticing. And you're trying to tell me he's just some normal guy.
Yeah, what's so complicated about that? So anyway, on the way back to Helen's house, they bump into Ray, and Barry accuses him of Max's murder, even though he didn't believe that Max was dead 5 minutes ago. And then he downplays that Ray got a letter because everything's escalated with the three of them.
It's just me, not some psycho killer.
But the girls finally reveal that they found a lead and go look at an old yearbook to find out who David's friend Billy Blue is. But he's not in the yearbook, so Julie wants to take it to Missy to see if she can point out Billy, since he might have given a fake name, but they don't consider that he might have been in another class or went to a different school either. I guess Julie forgot about that fancy internet thing she showed Helen yesterday. So Julie's going back to Missy's, Barry and Helen are going to the parade, and we're supposed to believe that all 4 of these teenagers on summer vacation were up and dressed before 10 a.m. for all of this to happen. Julie thinks that this guy has something big planned for tonight, and she wants to stop it. So Ray suggests that they leave town since she said,
I'm not interested in what's right anymore, Ray. I want to do what's smart.
But she wants her life back since she thinks that going to college was hiding from her past, even though she had that plan before the murder. So at the parade, Helen somehow had some time to get her hair done. Seriously, what fucking time did these kids wake up? Anyway, Helen sees the hooker.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So Helen sees the hooker in the crowd, and he walks away when Helen points him out. Barry chases him down and tackles him, but it's some ancient dude. And Barry's like, why the hell were you wearing a rain slicker on a beautiful day without a cloud in the sky? Even though he would probably be wearing his jacket over his sweater if it hadn't been stolen. And the old dude's like, this shit is mad comfortable, bro. But then Helen sees another guy in a slicker, but rules him out because he looks more like a pedo that's gonna flash children.
I'm not a pervert.
And then there's another one that's too old and friendly, but then there's one watching the parade from a roof. So that's gotta be the guy, because it can't be some random onlooker in the crowd since they have no idea what the hooker looks like. But then he holds up a meat hook. Now she knows for sure. We then go to Julie, who pulls up to Missy's ramshackle house, where she comes at Julie with a knife and then proceeds to act like what she's doing is normal. They talk, and Missy thinks that David wanted to die that night, and he even left a note, but Missy didn't tell anyone because she wanted the insurance money. But when she shows Julie the note, she sees that it's the same handwriting and even the same size of paper she got. So she tells her about the accident and how she saw his tattoo, but Missy says David didn't have a tattoo, and then she says,
Get out of my house.
Even though they're in her backyard. So Julie realizes that they didn't kill David. So she rushes back to town to let him know that she still has no idea who's after him. Later that night, Helen still has to be at the pageant to pass the crown off to the next winner of the Little Miss Fish contest or whatever it's called. So Barry's going to keep an eye on her, alone in a secluded balcony, while she's safe on stage with 100 people watching her.
What the fuck are you on, huh?
But he gets attacked during the talent portion of the program, and when Helen runs off stage screaming to help Barry, the crowd all stop her like, that chick's singing wasn't that bad. But a cop comes up and she tells him about the attack while some dude is still restraining her for no reason. But when they get up there, there's nobody, and apparently Barry was stabbed in a way that he didn't bleed on the ground, so the cop brushes it off as a prank and drives her home. On the way, the road is blocked, so they take an alley where someone's truck is stalled. When the cop gets out to help him, Helen realizes it's the hooker and distracts the cop, giving him the perfect opportunity to kill him. But he's nice enough to clean the blade off before he goes after Helen, who's trapped in the backseat of the cop car. But this is a small town with an older car, so the windows are shit and can be broken if you have the right heels on. So she gets out. And luckily, she's smart enough to run to her family's store since she knew her sister would be pulling a 16-hour shift on a holiday. But Elsa has no sense of urgency when she sees Helen banging frantically on the door. She then dismisses her claim, but agrees to go lock the other door, which for some reason is still open. But she doesn't get to it in time, and the hooker is already inside, and she dies. He then hides under a tarp for some reason, and jumps out at her, but then he can't get out of the tarp. So she goes to a door, but doesn't have the key, so she takes a dumbwaiter to the second floor and jumps out a window. She takes off down the alley right when the fireworks are going off, and she comes to another alley where she can see that the town is having yet another parade, and if she can just get there, she'll be safe. But she stupidly turns around with like 20 feet left to go, and he jumps out, and she dies. So by now, Julie's figured out that David's fiance's father was a hooker, and that he might have killed David, and they hit him after he hid David's body.
That's amazing. She's a bleeding Sherlock Holmes.
And because of the handwriting, she also thinks that he lived and wants revenge on them for leaving him to die.
A murderer almost got killed after murdering someone, and he thinks he deserves revenge? That's just called karma.
Well, she thinks that he blamed David for the accident that killed his daughter, and that he wanted revenge and just to go back to a normal life. Instead, he got revenge, then got hit by a car and almost drowned, and then he went back to his normal life, and that didn't set well with him. So she tells this to Ray, and then she sees that his boat's called the Billy Blue, and she's like, "Ah, you're the killer!" and runs away. Ray claims he's innocent,
I'm gonna hook you!
but chases after her until some dude clotheslines him. He tells her to get on his boat, which she does instead of running to the cops. But she immediately runs into an orgy of evidence that says this guy's the killer. He's got a slicker, along with newspaper clippings about him, and even pictures of them from that day, including a really impressive one of Helen from street level in the parade where we know he was on the roof threatening her, and another from when he was probably killing Max, and another from when he stole Max's body back. So he's probably hiding in a bush with a bunch of crabs and a dead body in the middle of a neighborhood on a holiday with some chick screaming. But then the guy comes in and confirms her story and decides to let Julie know that her suspicions were right. But he undocked the boat, and they're like not that far from the dock, so she doesn't jump out and swim for shore. No, instead, she gets a flare gun, but she drops it when he hits the gas, taking them even further out to sea. He goes after her, but I'm not sure why he let Ray live when he was just lying there, but Ray has stolen a boat, and Ben hears this, so he goes after him instead. They fight on deck while Julie locks herself in the engine room, but Ray keeps trying to save Julie while Ben's only slightly phased from a punch. But she comes out of her protective room and stupidly yells for Ray mid-fight, "Ray!" To which he looks at her and gets bitch slapped overboard. But he grabbed onto a net and is trying to climb back on board while Ben goes after Julie. She hides in the ice room that you would use to keep fish fresh, but ends up finding her dead friends instead. So now that he knows where she is, Ben goes to cut her off, but Ray's now back on board and is somehow already dry, and he hits him with a pulley and knocks his old ass out. But of course, he gets back up and immediately starts fighting. But when he goes after Julie, his hand gets caught in a line, so Ray pushes a lever that pulls the rope and cuts Ben's hand off, and somehow it gets wrapped around his leg and sends him flying overboard. But when they get back to shore, the police only find his hand and say that the body will turn up sometime.
Yeah, right. Just like Michael Myers, he'll be back.
I keep telling you, he's not the boogeyman, he's just some normal dude.
How could one person do all of that?
Shut up. He knew when Julie was coming back into town, even though she wanted to back out. He put the letter in the mailbox before she got there, then followed them to see Barry attack Max, followed them to Ray while getting pictures of them, and then killing Max about the same time. He had to hide Max's body, follow Barry to the gym, get in without the guy at the desk seeing him, run him over with no one seeing him, or hearing Barry scream, then the next night, sneak into Helen's house while everyone's still awake, wait for everyone to fall asleep, hover over someone in bed, cut their hair, put a tiara on them without waking them up, and then, in the same night, go get Max's body and a crap ton of crabs, break into Julie's car or go inside and get the keys, fill the trunk not knowing if her mom's gonna find it, and then stake out her house, entailing her until she finds the body, hope she leaves it, then run to the car, remove the body and the crabs in the middle of a neighborhood in broad daylight, hide in a bush so you can take pictures of them coming back, then go to the parade, take pictures of Helen, then run all the way upstairs, pose for Helen, then hopefully get a nap, sneak into the pageant, kill Barry, get rid of the body and clean up before anyone listens to Helen and checks it out, then go across town, stage car trouble, kill a cop, chase Helen to the store, teleport to the other side of the building, get in, hide so Elsa can't see him, kill Elsa, then hide under a tarp, do an unnecessary jump scare, chase and kill Helen, then fingers crossed, hope that Ray didn't have any plans for the 4th of July and he'll be on his boat so Julie can find him. Then you don't have to hunt both of them down, but then insist that they separate themselves so he can attack them one at a time. Then he has to survive being attacked by an athletic teenager, and if all that goes to plan, it's easy.
See, that wasn't so hard.
Listen to yourselves, no!
We are going to subscribe!
We don't have time for your shit!
I don't think we're that powerful, Julie.
Fuck that. Let's go.